This tape has been copyrighted. Any duplication or reproduction without written consent is prohibited.
Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. I'm just going to go over a bunch of points. I read the whole book, and I actually read it twice, okay, so far. And I actually, if you buy the book, you can go to, he has a 3-day intensive seminar. Anybody been to that yet? 3-day intensive seminar? Yeah, you've been to it? Who's been to it? How was it? Lito, you went to it too? What do you think?
I think it's excellent.
Yeah? Right, because I'm listening to the intensive tapes right now, CDs, there's a bunch of them. I'm about halfway through it right now. Okay? And the thing about it, Lito, what kind of experience have you got from it? Because Lito, you've been doing so much better lately. What do you think that is? Is that you think some of it's a result around that? Yeah? Yeah, it's exactly. It ties in, it dovetails completely with Beyond Positive Thinking. But the bottom line is this, okay? Did you know that rich people think in very similar ways? Which is why you should study rich people, right? One of the things I've done over the years, I've read a bunch of autobiographies about rich people. Like, Carnegie, like Donald Trump, right? Like, you name them. There's tons of Forbes, like, they go on and on. Think and Grow Rich, all that kind of stuff. You read about what rich people think like and act like, and you start acting like them, there's a chance for you to become rich. And then poor people think in completely different ways, and those ways of thinking determine their actions and therefore the results. If you thought the way rich people do, this is a question, if you thought the way rich people do and did what rich people do you think you could be rich too? Yes, of course, okay? This is a very good question to ask your clients, by the way. Okay? And so that when you're presenting them with the evidence and information, that's what rich people do. Rich people plan their financial future, which is why they become rich. So if you're poor, you're middle class, and you're struggling a little bit, or don't have a lot of money saved, guess what? You're not acting like a rich person. How do we know? Look at the results. That's how we know. So one of the first steps to acting like a rich person is having a plan, a financial plan, a FNA, right? And with a plan of what you need to do. The key is to learn powerful techniques to recondition your mind so you begin to think the same way rich people, which is the key, which is why reading is so important, why listening to tapes is so important, why you should be on a total self-development program all the time for the rest of your life, okay? This is not something you do like, when you go to college and you go for 4 years, most people go to college for 4 years and never read another book after they graduate from college, right? They stop growing. That's not the point of that. It's supposed to be a primer to get you to keep learning, right? Not to stop once you finish. It's ridiculous. Okay, you must challenge your mental approach whenever you begin to think in financially negative or counterproductive ways. You got to learn what those are. Your mind's your biggest obstacle or your biggest contributor to your success. Being diligent about your thinking, which is right thinking, right? You know how Anthony talks about right thinking? Not necessarily positive thinking, but right thinking correctly, is crucial to your ultimate success. You must choose to not, this is with a big capital letters, not, N-O-T. You must choose to not entertain any thoughts that do not empower you towards your vision of wealth. This is why you must examine your financial blueprint and make changes regarding limiting thoughts about money, or you will guarantee mediocrity for your financial life. So what you have to do, if you don't change your thoughts about money, okay, you're going to be basically the way you are for the rest of your life. You've got to change the way you feel, think, and act towards money, all right? It's very important that you do that. If you don't do that, that's why you keep, like you could read books and read books and read books and go to seminars, but if you don't change the way you think about it, you're never going to change your behavior. All right? And that's the key to changing the results. When you combine the inner game, which are your mind and your thoughts and your beliefs, that's the inner game, okay? With the outer game, which is your presentation skills, your question asking skills, your closing skills, your training skills, your communication skills, what's going to happen is your results are going to go through the roof. That's what's going to happen. When you combine those two things, you start paying attention to both. And unlearning limiting financial beliefs or thoughts is a huge key to your success. It's critical that you recognize how your old ways of thinking and acting have gotten you exactly where you're right. So what this book's going to do is going to help you identify the questions and doing the little things they have in here, right? Little things you do. You're gonna start seeing why you think the way you think, because you grow up around people that have very limited thought process regarding money. Unless you're fortunate enough to grow up in a wealthy family. How many of you grew up in a super wealthy family? 1, 2, 3. Okay. The rest of us, we're SOL unless we change our beliefs and thoughts about money. You with me? So is it important? Absolutely, it's critical, okay? If you want to move to a higher level of life, you have to be willing to let go of some of your old ways of thinking and adopt new ones. The results will eventually speak for themselves. Okay, this is very important, okay? This is a question that you need to ask every new recruit that comes on board. I'm going to ask you these questions because these are critical questions to your success in your business life, okay? What is your ability to act in spite of fear? Okay, what is your ability to act in spite of fear? In spite of worry? In spite of inconvenience? In spite of discomfort? And can you act when you're not in the mood? Let me repeat this. Aren't these powerful questions? Think about this, okay? What is your ability to act in spite of fear, right? Because fear stops virtually everyone. Have you noticed that? When you're trying to recruit somebody, number one reason why people don't get on board is they're afraid. They can't do it. They're afraid to talk to people. They're afraid of all kinds of stuff, right? Afraid of prospecting, afraid of, I don't know, can I learn all that new information? They're afraid, okay? In spite of worry. In spite of inconvenience. Are you going to have any inconvenience on your way to building a Primerica business? Absolutely, right? Like some of you have to travel a long distance to go to your op meeting because your op meeting is not next door. It might be an hour away. That's an inconvenience, right? Or maybe your job, the way it is right now, it's structured in such a way you work at night, so it's inconvenient for you to see people. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that are inconvenient about building a Primerica business, right? Got to spend time away from your family initially to get the business off the ground. There's all kinds of inconveniences that are going to absolutely present themselves if you're going to be successful, right or wrong? Absolutely, okay? And discomfort. Anything uncomfortable about Primerica in the beginning? When you haven't done it before? If you've never sold it before? If you're not comfortable? Making phone calls to set up appointments with your family members, with your friends, right? And they're going to think you're trying to sell them something? Is that discomfort? Discomforting, right? Prospecting strangers that you've never met, know before, is that discomforting? Absolutely, right? How about if I called you up and I said, look, I want you to impromptu do a 15-minute speech on Primerica right now. If I called one of you to do that right now, right? A lot of you right now, that would make you very uncomfortable, right? It'd be discomforting to you, okay? So guess what? Someday you're going to have to do that. And then how about field training a new person, right? You got a new person, you barely know what you're doing. Now you got a new trainee next to you, and yeah, you got to go field train him. Is that uncomfortable? Absolutely. Okay? There's all kinds of stuff that's discomforting in Primerica when you're building a business. If you don't have the ability to act in spite of that, what's your chances of being successful? Like zero. Okay? They're nil. And this is huge, right? Can you act when you're not in the mood? Can you act when you're not in the mood? How many of you are in the mood every day to prospect and set up appointments and go drive through traffic for, whatever, and all this stuff, looking for houses that you can't find, and all the stuff that happens in Primerica, right? I mean, does that you just feel like get up in the morning, I can't wait to go do all that? Of course not. You're a liar if you say yes, right? Unless you associate that with getting what you want. Okay? If you associate that with getting what you want, okay, that changes everything. Okay? Which is why you need to know what you want. All right, so all of these will absolutely be part of your experience on your way to building a big Primerica business and becoming wealthy. It's painfully obvious that everyone who quits our business or who has limited success does not possess the ability to act in spite of these feelings to the extent they need to. Those of you that are like plateaued out and struggling or whatever, I guarantee you these are issues for you. Something in here is an issue for you. Okay? Something. I don't know what it is, okay? You know what it is. I don't know. But I guarantee you that's holding most of you back right now. Fear, worry, inconvenience, discomfort, right? Not feeling like doing it, not being in the mood. All these things are stopping you from getting wealthy. You got to figure out how to fix that for you, okay? The fact is that your character, your thinking, your beliefs are critical part of what determines the level of success you'll have. Your income can only grow to the extent you do. So now look at your income. Your income, I guarantee you, is 100% related to where you are mentally right now. Okay? You want to look, our business. Is there really much physical about building a Primerica business? It's almost virtually 100% mental. I mean, that you have to get up and walk over to your car and get your car and turn it on and press on the gas and drive over and get out of your car and walk up to the house and sit down at their kitchen table. That's the extent of the physical nature of Primerica. All right? I mean, my God, who can't do that? So what's physical about it? It's like 99.9% mental. Right? So where do you think you ought to be spending some time working on? What? Your mind, your mental outlook, what you think about what you're doing is the most critical thing that you need to work on. Okay? Once you know the basic of Primerica, cash value is no good, term's better, it's cheaper, you can take the money and invest the difference. Being out of debt is better than being in debt, right? Saving money in equity funds is better than saving money just about anywhere else. It's how complex our business is, right? So that's not what it is. That's easy. You could teach a 12-year-old that's relatively literate how to do our business, okay? It's not difficult. It's your mind that screws you up. That you're not spending an enormous amount of energy and time working on your mind is nuts. Okay? That's the number one thing that's going to change your life. Okay. Because of people's beliefs, lack of preparation, and lack of personal growth, the vast majority of people simply do not have the internal capacity to create or hold on to large amounts of money and the increased challenges that go with more money and success. This is the primary reason they don't have much money. And this is the reason the majority of lottery winners end up broke after winning huge sums of money. Did you guys know that? Anybody know a lottery winner that's broke today? Yeah. Right? A few of you, yeah? How much they win? 19,000? No, bigger. Anybody make $5 million and they broke? Yeah, dead broke. $5 million broke. Anybody else? 8 million broke? Yeah. Almost everybody that wins the lotteries ends up broke. You guys know that? You have another one? No. But the reason is, folks, is because because of people's beliefs. Because somebody that doesn't have money then all of a sudden gets a bunch of money. They have bad beliefs about money, right? To be rich is bad. All these kinds of stupid things that people think about being rich, right? You got to be a criminal to have a lot of money, all kinds of stuff, right? So what happens if they have a belief that money's bad or being rich is bad, then they're subconsciously, they go to work to try to get rid of all the money so they don't have any more money so they can go back to being good again. You with me? And people in Primerica do the same thing. All right? Lack of preparation, lack of personal growth. So they're not ready for that. Okay? It makes sense? So doesn't it make sense if you feel like you're going to get wealthy in Primerica, wouldn't you think you should be working on getting your thinking right so that when you do have a lot of money, you know what, you feel comfortable with it, you know what to do with it, you don't blow it, you don't throw it away? Huh? Doesn't that make sense to do that? Absolutely, okay? Research shows that 80% of individuals will never be financially free in the way they'd like to be, and 80% will never claim to be truly happy. To be financially free and personally happy, personal growth is a way. It's really the truth, okay? I mean, growing yourself in all different ways, right? Even happiness, folks. Do you realize that being happy, it's such a simple thing, but it's very difficult if you're not working towards that, right? Being happy happens to be, there's two things you've got to do to be happy. One is you have to accept things as they are. Okay? That doesn't mean you don't work to change them. But whatever the problem is, you need to accept, I have this problem, it's real, I don't necessarily like it, but I accept that it's part of my life right now, and I've got to work to fix it. You have to accept it. As long as you keep saying, like something that's not happening, if you keep on going, oh, I wish it wasn't this way, I wish that it didn't happen, I wish I wasn't sick, I wish my mom wasn't sick, and you don't accept it, right, you're going to be unhappy the whole damn time, right? Okay? The other thing is you got to be grateful. You cannot. It's absolutely impossible to be grateful and unhappy simultaneously. You can't do it. All right? So if you're always thinking about gratitude, how grateful you are that today you're here today. You were able to get up out of bed, travel here, dress yourself, take a bath, do whatever, right? And drive over here. You can see. I mean, there's so many unbelievable things to be grateful for if you pay attention, except when your mind's always focused on what's wrong with everything, right? Pretty hard to do that. But see, there's a lot of things right. Even when everything seems to be crap, okay, there's a lot of things going right in your life. But your mind, right, it always wants to go towards what's wrong, which is why you feel bad, because you're focusing on what's wrong as opposed to what you can be grateful for. Make sense? And so what do you think? You think you'd be more attractive if you were grateful versus unhappy? Yeah, because it's energy, folks. It's always about energy. What is your energy? Okay, the reason is simple. Most people are unconscious. They are asleep at the wheel. They work and think on a superficial level of life based on what they see. In other words, they live strictly in the visible world. Everybody operates based on what they can see. Have you ever heard of that saying, show me? Right? Or there's even a state that has that motto, right? The show me state, right? Which is that Missouri, right? Is a show me state. In other words, they don't believe until they see it. The fact is this, what's underground, it's what's underground that creates what's above the ground. All right? It's what's invisible that creates what's visible. Think of, has anybody ever planted like a vegetable or a fruit tree or something like that. If you plant tomatoes or something, corn or cabbage or whatever, right? What happens, you take a bunch of seeds, right? And you don't plant one seed because that's dumb, right? You plant a bunch of seeds, right? Because we don't know which ones are going to germinate and create a plant, right? Kind of like why you prospect a bunch of people because you don't know which one's going to germinate and bear fruit, correct? Okay, so you put a bunch of seeds in there, and then what do? Just leave it alone? No, you fertilize it, you take the weeds out, you water it, you take care of it, right? You nurture it, okay? And then what happens, how long does it take for you to see something? It takes a while, right? Does that mean because you can't see it happening that something's not happening? Does that mean that growth isn't happening just because it's not visible? Of course not, okay? So that's the way our whole life is, right? Is you're growing yourself inside, right? Things will start happening, and you won't see them right away, John. It might take a while before you actually see it, okay? It may take a while. You have to have what? Faith, okay? You have to have some faith that it's going to take place and it's going to grow. So so then, if you want to change the visible, you have to change the invisible. What is the invisible? It's your thoughts and your beliefs. That's the invisible. What you think about and what you believe is the invisible. You can't see it, right? Does it mean it's not real? We already know that thoughts are things. Thoughts have energy, right? Beliefs have energy the way right? It does. There's no question about that. So what we do is we live in at least 4 different worlds at once, okay? You may say, well, that's kind of weird. Well, we do. Think about this. You have the physical world, right? What we can see, right? We're here right now. And the mental world is what we think about and what our beliefs are, right? The emotional world is what we feel, correct? And then the spiritual world, which is what we know what that is. That's God, correct? What most people don't ever realize, and why they struggle in most areas of their life, is that the material world, this is really important, is merely a printout of the other 3 areas. It's a printout of the other 3 areas. Okay, so the physical world's a printout of the mental, emotional, and spiritual world, right? So however that's doing is what's going to manifest itself in the physical world, right? The physical reality. So if you believe that, then you'll be working on that, right? Which means you'll have those results. And every one of you who's doing well, a perfect example, we talked about Neil earlier. Neil is doing really well in the base shop. I guarantee you, Neil is not the same guy today that he was 3 or 4 years ago. Right, in all those areas, I'm sure you've grown, right? Your mental awareness, you've had challenges in Primerica, challenges with different people and all that, right? And you've kind of just, maybe at some point you probably felt really bad about it, and then you somehow just kept going forward, and now you're starting to, because you're more aware, it's not a big issue for you anymore. Now you know you control your own destiny, but you're not the same person. You've grown, okay, in those areas, right? And any one of you that are doing well, you've all grown, correct? Every one of you has. All right? And you didn't grow necessarily physically, right? You grew mentally. You grew in your thought process. The way you see challenges is different today than the way you saw them when you first started. Okay? You're much more aware, much more mature, much more conscious today than you were, hopefully, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. If you don't grow in your consciousness, then it's pretty difficult to grow your life. I mean, it's very difficult to do that. Okay. Money, this is important. Money is a result. Wealth is a result. Health is a result. Illness is a result. Your weight is a result. We live in a world of cause and effect. When you fully understand the cause, you can work to change it if needed or continue it if it's working for you. So if you know that everything's a result, money's a result, wealth is a result, health is a result, illness, weight, all those things are results, right? So then once you are aware of that, right, you can start changing to rectify those things or make them better. Or if they're going really well, then you just keep doing what you're doing, correct? Okay? So now hear this. This is really important. Now hear this. How many of you need to make more money? Anybody need to make more money? Okay, good. All right. Lack of money, hear this, okay? Lack of money is never, ever, ever a problem. A lack of money is merely a symptom of what's going on underneath in your mind. Okay? We say that again? A lack of money is never, ever, ever a problem. A lack of money is merely a symptom of what's going on underneath in your mind. Every time. You know that's true. I mean, as you're hearing this, even though you don't want to believe that, you know it's true, right? Inside you, you can feel that statement's true, right? Because it is. A lack of money is the effect, but what's the root cause? Okay, Whatever results you're getting, be they rich, poor, good or bad, positive or negative, always remember their outer world is simply a reflection of your inner world. If things aren't going well in your outer life, it's because things aren't going well in your inner life. It's that simple. Fix the inner, you automatically fix the outer. Who do you know in Primerica who's worked harder on their inner life than me? I don't think there's anybody. Maybe somebody that's worked as hard, not harder. I guarantee, over the last 20 years, nobody's spent more energy, more time, and more money on that than me. I don't know a person, okay? And the results speak for themselves. Why things are going, why the business keeps on growing, why every year my income's gone up for 20 straight years. Why is that, okay? Because I just am relentless about growing, all right? That doesn't make me better than anybody here. It just means that I've spent my energy in a way that facilitates that. All of you have the capacity to do the same thing if you want to, okay? I just have actually done it. You have to accelerate yours and your team's learning. Okay, so if you want to get your people trained better, you want to get them growing faster, you want people to be more successful in Primerica. Anybody want that? Yeah. You want more freedom. By the way, you can't have freedom unless you become a great trainer. Okay, if you're not a great trainer, you will never have freedom in Primerica, because if your business is personality driven, there's a lot of people in Primerica that their businesses are personality driven. Which means that they have to be up there getting everybody all excited and calling people and traveling already and keep the troops going all the time, right? If they don't do that, their business just starts falling apart, right? That is a horrifying way to build a business, okay? Because it means you can never have any freedom in your life, okay? What you want to do is develop people so that you don't, and you do a great job of teaching and making sure people know what they're doing so that you don't physically have to be there holding their hand, doing things for people all the time. Does it make sense? Okay, so like most of you that are all your RVPs, when was the last time I went and did a meeting for you guys? Like never, right? It ain't going to happen either, so don't ask me, okay? And the reason is because you think you need me, but you don't need me, okay? See, you think you need me, but you don't. You have the capacity to do whatever you want. It's not necessary that you have me or your upline. Now, it's great if they want to come, if that makes sense or whatever, okay, and that'll happen every now and then. But look, my whole intention in building my business is to build a business in such a way that puts me in a position where I don't have to do that. So I can have a what? A life, okay? Don't you all want a life? Yes. Okay, you got to build a business like I did if you want a life, because I have one. All right? And not a lot of people in Primerica do that build it on a personality basis. You with me? Very important. The only way to do that is make sure your people know exactly what to do. Okay? Your ability to get people to know what they're doing, sell, is everything. You've been focusing on that. Is it making a difference? Absolutely. Okay? All right. This is how you do it. The key is involvement. All right? Write this down. What you hear, you forget. See, what people hear, like right now as I'm talking to you, this is the worst way to train people. Lecture is the absolute undeniably worst way to train people. Because I'm talking at you. Thank God we tape this, and you can listen to it if you choose to, over and over and over again, and then you'll probably get it if you listen it to enough times, okay? But if you just hear what I'm talking about today and you never revisit it, you're probably going to forget 90% of what I'm saying today, okay? So talking at people like I'm doing to you, right, today, lecture, is a horrible way to train people. And guess what most people do in Primerica? That's what they do. They talk at their team. It's a stupid way to train people. It's really ineffective. All right? What you see, you remember. It's a lot better if you could see, like seeing, that's why an op meeting has to be visual, right? You're talking at the audience, but you also have things up on the screen that you can relate to, and they can see it, and they can hear it, right? So, Saturday training lectures are hearing, mostly. Unfortunately, they got to change, right? What you see, you remember. Why is field training and role play so important? So if people see what they see, they remember. You want to take people on field training points, because when you take a new person on a field training point, guess what they're doing? They're seeing it happen. Right. And if they see it, they're going to remember it, okay? But if they hear about it on a tape, they're probably not going to remember. But if they actually physically see it, that's why it's so important. If you're talking to a new person, this is stuff you need to go over with them. You need to say, look, what you hear, you forget. So if you just come to the Saturday trainings, but you don't get in the field, you're not going to ever remember anything, okay? You've got to get in the field so you can see it. So if you go over what I'm talking about with a new recruit, and you get them to understand why, Marque, why they need to go on appointments, why they need to get field trained, right? Because if they see it, they're going to remember. Field training is the most effective way, and when you're training on your Saturday meetings, role play. Lots of role play. Try all the different parts of the business you want people to learn. Role play it. Sit up here, get a client, get a table, and show them, get overhead so that the audience can see what you're covering, and act as if you're recruiting, or you're closing a sale, or you're doing the F&A input, or you're setting appointments. You have a couple there, you get a couple of telephones, right? You set appointments, and you so people can see it happening. It's the most effective way to train people. That's what I always did in building my business. That's how I got my base shop. During that time period from like 86, 87, 88, 89, that time period, folks, I did between 100 and 220 or 30 sales a month for that time period. Right? 1988, I averaged 153 sales a month in my base shop with 32 recruits. Yeah, my biggest recruiting year I ever had was 1988. I recruited 360 or 70 people, and I did 1,800 life sales. Okay? How did I do that? I trained people really well. I really, really trained people really, really well. That's what I did. That's the only way you can do it, okay? If you're just motivating, what training is that? They get excited, they go make some phone calls, they get like bashed in their head a couple times, and they're down the toilet again, right? But if you teach people skill, how to do it, then they start getting results, they start going, oh, and I can do this, and everything changes, right? Their whole belief system changes. Make sense? Okay. See, what you do, you understand. What you do, you understand. So once the person gets a license, right, you make them do the presentation. You make them set up the appointments. That's why new recruits, if you train them and then you make them set up the appointments, they learn how to do it. When they do it, they can understand it, right? Setting appointments, presenting, closing recruits, sales, and field training. It's important you do all these things regardless of how bad you are initially, okay? We're all going to be bad, right? We're all going to be disasters before we're masters, right? So a quote that he says in there, everybody's a disaster before they become a master. Right? JP, would you agree with that? Yeah, were you a little bit of a disaster for early on? Yes, okay. Now he's becoming a master. I guarantee same thing for Neil, right? You were a little bit of a disaster, right? Starting out early in your career. Now you're becoming a master. Okay. You blew some people out, made some mistakes. All of us have. I've done that. There's nobody that hasn't, okay? So you got to become a disaster before you become a master. I'm going to talk about that. It's important you do all these things. You can never, ever know until you do, so focus all your energy on massive doing, okay? That's why what you've got to be talking about in your base shop is appointments, 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 okay? Because appointments are doing. If there's no appointments, there's no doing, is there? There's got to be appointments for there to be doing. Because nobody can learn how to do unless they do, right? So that's critically important as they build their business. The power of intentions, okay? He talks about intentions. If you've read Anthony's book, it's intention. He calls them something else, declarations, okay? But it's the same thing. It's intentions. He just probably didn't want to copy it verbatim. But the bottom line is you know where he got that from, okay? It's intentions. So the power of intentions. This is important, okay? You must state your intentions in writing on paper and make it official. Folks, here's Hector Lamarck's intentions. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. I read these twice a day, every day. When I get up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, I read these every single day. I never miss, okay? These are all the things that I want to create in my life right now. Okay, some of them are business, some of them are personal, and some of them are golf, okay? So, and I have them. He said, what are you focusing on? Do you really, really focus on your intentions? Because everything you really, really have ever wanted in your life where you thought about it relentlessly, you've gotten it already in your life. You know that, okay? The problem is, you don't do it on purpose. You want a $100,000 base shop, Marco? You got to be talking about it, writing it down, have a picture about it, have a plaque in your wall about it. I mean, you got to be on top of that, and not let anything detract you from that, right? In order for that to happen. All right, so you got to have an intention. So you got to make it official. You need to write it down, like I do, right? Like anybody that's got it going does. Okay. The definition of an intention is to undertake a particular course of action. All right, or adopt a particular status. An intention, by definition, is also an official, formal statement of energy to the universe and throughout your body. So when you make that statement, right, that you're going to do something, and you repeat it over and over, it actually has a physical component, electrical or an energy component to it, okay? The most important word in the definition is action, right? You must take, listen, I have this capitalized. You must take all the actions necessary to make your intention a reality. Did you notice it didn't say some or most? But what did it say? All the actions necessary, right? Now, the question you have to ask yourself, are you taking, Martin, all the actions necessary right now to be an RVP and build a big base shop? Are you taking all of them? You know the answer to that, you guys. You know if you're taking all of them or some of them, right? Let me guess what? If you're not taking all of them, it's not going to happen like you want it to happen, all right? You got to take them all, not some. You can't say, well, I'll do this, but I won't do that, right? That's what people do in primary care. Well, I'll make these calls, but I won't make this, or I will do this, but I won't do that. You can't do that. You got to take them all if you're going to be successful. Okay? Make sense? Yep. Okay. You should state your intentions aloud each morning and evening. If possible, you should do your intentions into a mirror. This will speed up the process of accomplishing your intentions even more. Remember, weird, rich, normal, poor. Okay? Remember that. Okay? It's weird if you got in the front of the mirror every morning and started reading your intentions right out loud, right, as you're looking at the mirror, that's weird. Okay? But you got to remember, right? If you're too embarrassed to do that around your family, well, close the bathroom door and get in front of that mirror, or get in your car and put the rear view mirror, or I don't know, whatever you need to do, okay? All right? Okay, listen. You can be hokey and really rich, or you can be really cool and really broke. Which is it going to be for you? Okay? All right, there you go, okay, right? Because some of you are just too cool today. You've been around too long, you're too cool, you can't do certain things. That's BS, okay? If you're going to be, look, folks, if you're not excited, if you're not creating excitement, if when your op meeting's not like going and blowing, right, and things are rocking, and you're feeling excited, and you talk to people, you're excited, you've got to be excited about what you're doing. You don't need to be cool. Cool is for people that are broke, okay? Stop being cool, right? I don't want to be cool, I want to be rich, okay? So forget about the coolness factor. You just look like an idiot in the end, okay? All right? This is how we create our world. Thoughts, this is important, okay? Thoughts or beliefs, okay, the same thing, lead to feelings, okay? The feelings lead to action, which is our behavior, right? And our actions lead to the results, which is what you want or don't want. Okay, so your thoughts and beliefs are the key since they determine your behavior. So in other words, like, what are your thoughts and beliefs related to prospecting? See, if your thoughts, like a lot of you, especially you guys been around a while, right? You don't like working with greenies anymore. You're tired of it. So you have this thought about that you don't like working with these greenies. So guess what? You don't think they feel it? That you don't enjoy doing it? You don't think they feel that you get annoyed? Huh? Yes, they feel it. And guess what? If they feel that you're annoyed or you don't like working with greenies or you don't like the field training process or any part of the business, right, they can feel it. And all that does is ensure that they stay away. It's totally wrong energy. You've got to have a belief, right? How do you change prospecting, field training, and doing all the fundamentals of Primerica? You've got to have a belief that you have to connect it to what you want, which is what you really want in your life. I got a really fantastic, I told all my base shop, I want you to write down and give me a copy of what your intentions, what you really want from your life, okay? And I got one from Juan Jimenez, just went full-time, just left $100,000 a year engineering job to go full-time. He's in my base shop. He's sitting right over here. Juan sent me, he probably brought it to me today, but he over the Go Solo, he read me his intentions of what he wanted. And I don't know if you listened to the message, but I left him a message. I said, Juan, those were awesome, because when he was reading them, I could visualize exactly what he wanted. It was awesome. I got excited. I got a little goosebumps because his intentions he had were kind of like mine were, very clear. I could see it as he was reading them to me. I was visualizing this in my mind. I mean, oh my God, this is incredible. Because now, if Juan will think about that, talk about that. I told Juan, I left a message, I said, Juan, what you need to do, man, all the things, travel, all these different things. I said, you need to create a little portfolio, pictures, put pictures to all these things so that you and Biv can really, really think about and focus on, so that what you need to do is connect prospecting, following up, making calls, talking to strangers, all the stuff you have to do Primerica. You have to make a connection to getting what you want, so that you have a belief that doing all these things that most people want to avoid in Primerica will get you all those things. When you make the connection that they go together, and you believe that they go together, you won't have any problem doing them. Right? That's what happened to me. I connected field training, recruiting directs, doing all the stuff you have to do, doing Saturday trainings, preparing, reading books, all the stuff that I've done, okay, I connected all that to me getting what I wanted. So it was real easy for me to stay focused and stay on top of it and never lose the energy I had for my business. Folks, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm more energetic about my business because I have new intentions, right, that are very clear to me that I want to accomplish. So for me, preparing for this meeting, for example, or doing my Saturday training, or doing my Tuesday night op meeting. Look, a lot of people don't like doing their Tuesday night op meeting because it's repetitive. You say the same damn thing every week for 21 years I've been doing it, right? Okay. And when I do it every Tuesday night, Lynn, am I not on? Am I not excited? Do I not bring energy to the place? Absolutely. You know why? Because I connect doing my op night and doing my Saturday training to me getting what I want, all these intentions I went over. See, so to me, it's not work. It's never been work. To you, you look at it as work, but I don't think it's work. This work? Come on, I'm talking. I'm expressing myself. How could you possibly say this is work? How could you possibly say that doing a Tuesday night op meeting and getting excited and trying to sell a dream to people is being work? How could you possibly say that training people that to help people have the potential to live out their dream life? How could that be work? How could taking a new recruit out in the field that's new and excited about the business and closing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 sales, recruiting some people and getting them to see and believe they could do it and getting them going? How could you see that as work? Because you have a screwed up thought process. You see? I've never, ever, ever for 1 minute worked in a day in Primerica. I've been in Primerica for 21 plus years, going on 22 years. I have yet to work a single minute in my 21 years in Primerica because I don't perceive it as work. This is the vehicle that's allowed me to have my life. My life's pretty damn incredible. You see? It's the way you think about it that screwed you up. Does that make any sense? Yes. Man, if you get your thinking right, everything gets easy, guys. Easy, simple, effortless. It's incredible, all right? Okay, remember your past conditioning determines every thought or belief that you have in your mind. So your past conditioning, your programming leads to your thoughts. Your thoughts lead to your feelings, and your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results, okay? So remember we said it was thoughts, feelings, actions, but it's really your programming that creates the thoughts, though, right? All of us are programmed. And there's not a one of us that has not been programmed by our mother, our father, our relatives, our religious leaders, our school teachers, our coaches, right? Friends, the media, right? Television, movies, right? Have you ever noticed in television movies, anybody that has money is evil, right? They always portray people that have money as being bad. Always, okay? I just saw a movie, The Wedding Crashers. It's a funny movie. Really funny. Except that they portrayed all of the rich people as nuts and bad, which they always do in movies, 100% of the time. When have you ever seen a rich person or a corporation ever be good in a movie or television? Never happens. So what do you think? If you see that your whole life, you've been watching television and movies now for 20 years or 30 years, you don't think that subconsciously gets in your mind that making money and being rich is bad and evil? Yeah, so then what happens when you have some opportunity that presents itself and you subconsciously have this belief that money and wanting to be rich and all that is bad, what do? Your behavior is such that it swishes that thing away. And that's why when people come to your op nights, they have all these beliefs, and you're talking about making money, getting rich, dreaming their dream life, and they're going, oh man, that'll make me a bad person. I can't do that. Right? So if you don't change the beliefs, there's no hope for you. You with me? Even when potential things come in front of you, you're going to screw it up. Not on purpose, subconsciously. You've been doing it for years now. Especially those of you that really struggle here. You've really been doing it. Okay, therefore, just as with a personal computer, by changing your programming, you take the first essential step to changing your results. If you don't change your programming, you can never change your results. A perfect example is me and my brothers and sisters. Okay, I have 6 brothers and sisters. They're all beautiful people. They're all doing okay. Okay, they all own their own homes. They have, good, quote, good jobs, right? Except that the difference between my brothers and me, okay, we went to the same schools. We have the same mother and father. We have the same upbringing. Everything's the same. Really, the difference was I lived at the library, and I started reading, and I started changing my whole thoughts and beliefs towards becoming successful and the ability to do that. It's not that I'm better than them, okay? It's very important that I'm clear on that. I don't see myself. But I think differently than they do. That's a fact, okay? I changed my entire thought process about what's possible, what you can do, who you can become, all that stuff, right? That's all I did. I did that differently. That's the only difference, okay? Because in every other way, right, our moral values, all that, they're the same. The things that our parents taught us, I'm not any different than them, except that my thoughts about success, making money, doing well in business, and having the courage to go start a business and work hard and overcome the issues to become successful, I learned that through all the books I read, all the tapes I listened to, that's how I did it, okay? So, unless you're fortunate enough to grow up in a wealthy family, I only had 3 people that grew up in a wealthy family. The rest of us, we're on our own. Right? We're on our own. We've got to figure it out. Okay? You got to put some time into that, to changing it. Okay, 35. We're conditioned in 3 primary ways in every area of life, including money and success. First is verbal programming. What did you hear growing up about money and successful people? Money doesn't grow on trees. What else? Money's the root of all evil. The rich get richer. The rich oppress the poor. Cost too much. We're not made of money. What's that? Money doesn't make you happy. How do you know you don't have any? Okay. Right? That's a perfect thing. Can't afford it. All these things, right? If you hear that growing up, right? And then, so you see that. Verbal. So what do people say? Modeling. What behavior do you see in your parents, families, teachers? Did you see your parents fighting about money? Did you ever see that? Did you see any issues regarding money in your life that had some sort of effect on you, right? Of course you have modeling, because what you see too. Like my dad. My dad never made a lot of money, so he really did have a poverty mentality regarding money, okay? And so what he would do is, my dad was a junk collector. Remember Sanford and Son? My backyard looked like Sanford and Son growing up, okay? My dad would collect junk, and he'd have stuff, and I'd say, Dad, why don't we just throw that away? What are you going to do with that? Oh, no, mijo, you don't know. We might need this. Because he was afraid that we might need this, and then he would have it there, and he wouldn't have to go to the store and buy it and pay money for it. So what he did, because he was so afraid of that, right, he would save everything. It's a scarcity mentality, right? And my dad was a beautiful person, but he had that issue. So he was afraid. Right? So he saved everything. Man, pretty soon we had so much stuff, he never used any of it. Okay? But he had it there just in case. Right? You with me? Okay, so that's what I saw growing up. That scarcity mentality. I had to overcome that. I used to do that a little bit too. My wife helped me fix that too. But I mean, now I know, I don't say, well, now I finally, I'd have clothes and I'd keep them forever. Oh, I might wear this someday. Right? You ever do that, right? So your closet just gets bigger and bigger. And what I started doing, man, it's been liberating. I've been taking go through my closet. I have anything I haven't worn for like 6 months. I just put it in a bag and I donate it. Put it in a bag, get rid of it, donate it, right? Because I can go buy more, right? I'm going to make nothing but money. What do I'm worried about something, right? Plus, it's all out of style anyways. Okay, Specific incidents. What did you experience regarding money and success growing up? What did you experience regarding it, okay? Disappointment, I don't know, right? I mean, one of the things I can remember, I never had a new bike ever until I became a teenager and got a job and I bought mine. I never had a new bike, okay? That was a specific incident for me that I always wanted a new bike, but we just couldn't afford it. So all the bikes I ever had were bikes that we put together, you know what I mean? Found a frame, got some wheels and all that kind of stuff. We used to paint it ourselves and all that kind of stuff. Anybody do that? Am I the only one that done that? Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right? Never had a new bike. My first bike I bought, I was 16 years old, and I got a job with the recreation department for the city of Chino, and I bought myself a baby blue Schwinn varsity bicycle. Man, it was awesome. Beautiful bike, right? Baby blue like your t-shirt there, right? Like your shirt. And I remember that like it was yesterday, because that was a big deal for me to be able to do that, okay? To buy a new bike. and break out of always using old things, okay? So that's how I grew up. So I had to overcome a bunch of stuff. The reason I'm making these comments is because we all have those issues, okay? The good news, Sal, is you can overcome those, right? You can overcome. Are you starting to overcome some of those things? I mean, you came here, you're broke, right? Living with somebody, you've had now you're making 30, 40 grand a month, okay? So things change, correct? Or you need to get yourself comfortable with making money, all right? And understanding that, and not so that you can keep making more and doing better and all that, okay? You got same disease? Okay. No, it's scarcity. Donate it. Donate it. Get rid of it, okay? You see, when you hold on to things, you got to get rid of it to make room for new stuff, for better stuff, okay? Got to get rid of the old to make way for the new, correct? Okay. There are 4 key elements to change essential reprogramming your financial success blueprint. They're simple but profoundly powerful, okay? All of us have a blueprint, a money blueprint. You know how you can know what your money blueprint is? Okay? Look at your results. Look at your income. What's your current income right now? That's what it is right now. Okay? That's what it is. Okay? That's what it is. So, you happy with your current income? You better be changing the way you think about money, or else it's going to stay there. You got to grow it. Okay? The first element of change is awareness. You can't change something unless you're aware it exists, correct? Okay? The second element of change is understanding where your way of thinking originated or came from. Like I said, parents, relatives, school teachers, etc. Okay? The third element of change is disassociation. Right? Once you realize your way of thinking is not you, right? The way you think is not you. The way we think, we get from other places, from people, things we read, books tapes we listen to. We get that from all different places. It's not really you. Then you take those things that people say or things you read, right? And then you decide, yeah, I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna make that part of my belief system. Now you don't actually literally take them. I mean, you're not aware enough to think like that, but it comes in, and then you heard things growing up, or you heard things from certain people, or you read a book or whatever, and then you decide if they're gonna make that part of your belief system or not. Does that make sense? Okay, but you get to make a decision whether it's part of it or not. It doesn't come from you. It comes from outside of us. Everything we believe, Neil, comes from outside of us. It doesn't come from inside of us. Does that make sense? And then what we've got to do is we've got to get more aware so that we make good choices on whether this is a good belief that supports what we're trying to do with our life or not. Make sense? Okay. The third element is disassociation. Once you realize your way of thinking is not you, you can separate yourself from it and choose in the present whether to keep it or let it go, based on who you are today and where you want to be tomorrow. In other words, like a computer, you can delete old files that don't work for your life today and replace them with new ones that do. You can do this for the rest of your life and create the exact life you want. So look, have any of you done certain things in your life that you today, knowing based on your current level of awareness, you would never do that in a million years? Anybody? All right, am I the only one? Okay. I mean, so every one of us, earlier in our life when we were less aware, right, we made decisions that today, based on our current level of awareness, we would never even consider today. Correct? Okay, so what you did then is so now today that's an old belief, right? You believe at that time that was appropriate. Today you have a different belief, all right? You change the belief. You can do that about everything. You with me? Okay? So, and in fact, if you don't do it, you're going to keep repeating the same old behavior over and over and over again, having the same results. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to get to, right? Does that make sense, Neil? Okay. The fourth element of change is reconditioning. Okay, I'm not going to go through that. It's in the book. All right? T. Harv Eker is the author. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Rich and successful people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know. You ever notice that? You ever go to people that are dead broke, you try to do an F&A for them, you come up with all kinds of great solutions, and they already know everything, right? But they're broke. They have no money saved, and they're not saving any money currently, right? You know what I'm talking about? Because they know everything. Hey, guess what? We got a bunch of Primerica people. They know everything too. Oh, Hector, you don't know. What do you know, right? You only make $4 million a year. What do you know? Okay? Okay, so how do you know if you know something? Simple. If you live it, you know it. Otherwise, you heard about it, read about it, or you talk about it, but you don't know it. Put it bluntly, if you're not really rich, successful, and happy, there's a good chance you still have something to learn about money, success, happiness, and life. Poor people are often trying to prove that they're right. They put on a mask as if they've got it all figured out, and it's some stroke of bad luck or temporary glitch in the universe that has them broke and struggling. Folks, you can't be right. You can be right or you can be rich and successful, but you can't be both. Being right means having to hold on to your old beliefs and ways of thinking and being. So see, you got to think about, how are you operating your business right now? Is it giving you the results you want? You better relook at how you're doing things. Okay, if you're not getting the results, then you need to, if you keep holding on to those old beliefs, you got to change them. Okay, if you're not getting what you want. All right, unfortunately, these old ways of thinking, believing, and being got you exactly where you are right now. This philosophy also pertains to happiness. If you keep, this is from Jim Rohn, if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you'll keep getting what you've always got. That is why it's imperative that you continue to learn and grow. If you're not continuing learning, you're going to be left behind, right? This is really important. Success is a learnable skill. If you want to learn how to be a great golfer, piano player, RVP, SVP, NSD, SNSD, happy or rich, you can learn how to do it. It doesn't matter where you are right now, and it doesn't matter where you're starting from. What matters is your willingness to learn, okay? That's the only thing that matters. A lot of you, because you haven't done well, maybe you've been here a while and you haven't done as well as you'd like, okay, you have this belief that that's your lot. It's not true, okay? It's not true. You can change at any time, right? And this is where he says, he uses his comment, every master was a disaster, once a disaster. Think about this. Did you know Lance Armstrong, who's right in the middle of winning his 7th consecutive Tour de France? I was just in Europe, and we were near there, okay, in France. And he's winning. He's got 2-minute, 46-second lead right now. And it looks like, unless he falls or something like that, he's probably going to end up winning. That's a pretty good lead, okay? So that's going to make him the best rider in history, right? Though there's another guy he's tied with right now for 6 consecutive wins. And if he wins this one, which hopefully he does, cross our fingers, right? It will make him the best rider in history. Did you know that Lance Armstrong finished dead last in his first professional race, and now he's a master when he was once a disaster? His very first race, finished dead last. Okay? So see, some of you are maybe you feel like you're dead last right now. But look, what did he do? He reinvented himself. Not only that, he got cancer, and then after that, reinvented himself, right? And turned himself into a champion, right? A big champion. He was always really good at the one day races where there's just one day. He was always good at that. But to do Tour de France, you have to be good for 21 days, right? It's a 21-day race through the mountains, the Alps. It's unbelievable. I rode motorcycles through there a few years back. Okay, I got tired riding a motorcycle. Okay, I mean, it was unbelievable. And that's what they do. But what's really interesting is there's a guy named Jan Ullrich, who's a German rider, who's the second best rider in the world, okay? And he's finished second 3 times, I think, during this time period, right? Jan Ullrich, and they asked him a question. Just I was in Europe, I was watching an interview, and they asked him, why do you think it is that Jan Ullrich can't beat you? And he said, well, I think it has to do with December. And he goes, well, what do you mean December? It's because what he does in December affects what he does in June and July. In other words, he's not preparing in December, when Lance Armstrong is preparing every month all year. His whole year revolves around preparing for the Tour de France. So there's no day, no month that he's not preparing for that ultimate race, which allows him to become the best racer in world history, right? And he said it's really December that loses him. So see, what it is that if you're focused all the time, doing all the right things all the time, then you have a chance to be great. You see? Isn't that great, Daniel? Isn't that awesome? Okay. Yeah, it's incredible. And then there's Steve Jobs, Apple computer, Steve Jobs. You know who that is, right? Really incredible. Steve Voskis sent me this little article. Did you know that he dropped out of Reed College after 6 months, and that he was adopted, and that he had no idea what he wanted to do with his life, and that looking back, that quitting college, which he said was the best thing that happened, he goes, I was lucky. I found what I love to do early in life, and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just 2 of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. 10 years. We had just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier. I just turned 30, and then I got fired. He says, how do you get fired from a company you started? He says, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company, and then they disagreed on the vision, and then the board backed the guy, and they ousted him from Apple. Very public, humiliating time for him, right? Because he got fired from his company that he started. You imagine that? Getting fired from the company that you started, right? It was very, very rough time for him because he didn't know what he wanted to do, right? Got a little depressed, right? Like, you think you might get a little depressed for something like that? Your whole life's wrapped up in it? Because then, I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first animated feature, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next. I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance, and Lorraine and I have a wonderful family together. And I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. See, like you think you're having problems right now. You have no problems! Okay? Stop it! You victocrat! You! Stop it! I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going is that I love what I did, he said. Because my third story was about death. When I was 17, I had read a quote that went something like this: if you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right. It made an impression on me. Since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to be doing what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer had been no for too many years in a row, I knew I needed to change it. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life, because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There's no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that was incurable and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home, get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try to tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later in the evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach, and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas, and got a few cells for the tumor. I was sedated. My wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctor started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and I'm fine now. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it, and that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new, like the clothing I was telling you about, right? Right now, the new is you, but someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Is that powerful? That is unbelievable. I mean, there's so much wisdom in that thing, right? And that's really true in Primerica. See why reading's so important? Doesn't it make you more aware? Doesn't it make you, gosh, it's just incredible. I love it. I just love it. There's another example that he talks about. He says, a while ago, this is Hector in the book, he says, I had an Olympic skier in my seminar. When I made that statement, he stood up and asked to share. He was adamant, and for some reason I thought he was going to vehemently disagree. To the contrary, he told everyone the story of all his buddies, how they wouldn't call him to go skiing with them because he was too slow. To fit in, he went to the mountain early each weekend and took some lessons. Pretty soon, he was not only keeping up with his buddies, he surpassed them. He got involved in the racing club and learned from a top-ranked coach. His exact words were, "I might be a master skier now, but I definitely started out a disaster." Harb's absolutely right. You can learn to succeed in anything. I learned how to succeed at skiing, and my next goal is to learn how to succeed with money. See, getting rich isn't as much about getting rich financially as about whom you have to become in character and mind to get rich. I want to share a secret with you that few people know. The fastest way to get rich and stay rich is to work on developing you. The idea is to grow you into a successful person. Again, your outer world is merely a reflection of your inner world. There's a saying I like. You take yourself with you wherever you go. If you grow yourself to become a successful person in strength of character and mind, you will naturally be successful in anything and everything you do. You will gain the power of absolute choice. You will gain the inner power and ability to choose any job, business, Primerica, or investment arena, and know you'll be success. This is the essence of this book. When you're at a level 5 person, you get level 5 results. But if you grow yourself into a level 10 person, you'll get level 10 results. Another key difference between rich people and poor people and middle-class people is that rich people are experts in their field. Middle-class people are mediocre in their field, and poor people are poor in their field. How good are you at what you do? How good are you at your job? How good are you at your business? Do you really want a totally unbiased way of knowing? Look at your paycheck. That will tell you everything. It's simple. To get paid the best, you have to be the best, right? Generally, the best players in every sport earn the most. They also make the most money on endorsements. This same principle also holds true in both the business and financial worlds. Example, Tiger Woods is undeniably the best golfer in the world. He earns $5 to $10 million playing golf. Right now, I think he's at almost $7 million so far this year. But he makes around $80 million in endorsements from Nike, Buick, American Express, Tag Heuer. He makes about $80 million. Now, he's won the first major Masters. He finished second in the Open, and he finished first in the British. Those are three of the four majors. Okay? He's having an amazing year. All right? So guess what's going to happen to the endorsers that want him to represent him, or want him to represent them? He's going to charge him more. That's why. Because now what? Not only is he the best, he's creating another separation between him and everybody else, which means he gets paid the most. Okay? You want to get paid the most, JP? Yes. Be the best. That's it. That's how you do it. You're focused on being the best, you're going to get paid the most. Right? John, what do the best baseball players make? They make the most or the least? The most. Okay. Why? Because they're the best. Pretty simple, huh, Juan? Yeah, okay. On the topic of learning, it's worth noting, rich people not only continue to learn, they make sure they learn from those who already have been where they themselves want to go. One of the things that made the biggest difference for me personally was whom I learned from. I always made it a point to learn from true masters in their respective fields, not those who claimed to be experts, but those who had real-world results to back up their talk. Rich people take advice from people who are richer than they are. Poor people take advice from their friends. Do we not know that in Primerica? They come to our meeting, right? You're up here. You got Daniel Alonzo or Sal or Neil. They're making $300, $400, $500 a year, whatever. Okay, and they're talking and trying to recruit these people. And then the people go home, and who they talk? They talk to their friends. And their friends talk about it doing Primerica when somebody that's richer than them is telling them what to do. But that's why they're broke, right? Who are you currently taking advice from in your Primerica business? Whose advice are you following? Yeah, well, how come you don't have a big base shop? Because that's what I did. That's what I teach to do, is build a big base shop, right? Okay, find yourself a great coach and do what they tell you to do if they have what you want. All right? Pretty good stuff? Yeah. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.